The rainstorm that canceled my roofing job probably saved my life. Not that I knew it yet, when I trudged into our garage smelling like wet asphalt and betrayal. See, Dorothy always left the deadbolt flipped vertical when she went out, her little quirk from that home invasion scare in '09. But tonight, the brass gleamed horizontal. My keys jingled the way they do when your hands know something's wrong before your brain catches up. Their laughter hit me first, that champagne bubble giggle Dorothy used to reserve for our anniversary nights, now mingling with a baritone chuckle that wasn't mine. I stood dripping in the foyer, staring at Richard's Burberry trench coat draped over the grandfather clock like some fucked up Christmas ornament. My brain did this stupid thing where it tried to rationalize. Maybe he's here about the kitchen remodel? Right before Dorothy purred, God, the way he believed those text screenshots Mom made. Like watching a golden retriever try algebra. I'll give myself credit. I didn't kick the door in. Didn't even breathe. Just pulled out my phone, opened the voice memo app, and pressed record like I was taking a goddamn pottery class. Cold water from my work jacket pooled around my boots as Richard said what every cuckold's nightmare scriptwriter would have rejected for being too on the nose. To be fair, Helen's Photoshop skills are elite. That woman could falsify a pregnancy ultrasound if the payout was right. Dorothy's wine glass clinked against what I recognized as my great-grandfather's cut crystal decanter. Speaking of, Mom needs those offshore transfers done before his suicide. My thumb slipped on the phone, nearly dropping it. Relax, Richard snorted. By the time they fish your husband's weighted-down corpse out of Lake Michigan, we'll be sipping mojitos in Belize. Here's what they didn't account for. That decanter? The one she was pouring $800 Macallan into like it was Kool-Aid? I'd reglued its stopper 3 days earlier after Helen accidentally knocked it off our mantle. Superglue bonds in 30 seconds. Cure times 24 hours. Dorothy's stiletto clicked toward the door. I moved faster than I'd ever moved roofside, out the garage, across the sodden lawn, vaulting the neighbor's fence as their porch light flared on. Crouched behind Mrs. Petrovsky's overgrown juniper bushes, phone still recording, I watched through the kitchen window as Dorothy, my Dorothy, who cried through our vows about building a life of trust, casually licked red wine off Richard's thumb. "One more month," she murmured. "Just until Mom finishes the final payoff," Richard finished, nuzzling her neck. Then we ghost. The rain turned biblical. My hands stopped shaking. Back in my truck, I played the recording 3 times. Not to hurt myself, though Christ, did it ever, but to isolate the background noises. The hum of our Sub-Zero fridge. The ticking of that goddamn grandfather clock. And underneath it all, faint but unmistakable, the warped warble of a whiskey bottle not fully sealed. I drove to the 24-hour hardware store. Bought a lockpick set, a burner phone, and a can of spray adhesive. When I returned at 3 a.m., the decanter's stopper came out clean. It still smelled like her lipstick. The confrontation happened at high noon because Helen's generation still thinks civility requires daylight. I brought her favorite peonies, the ones Dorothy claimed made her sneeze, and watched the old viper's pupils dilate when she saw the bouquet. "Douglas," she trilled, adjusting her pearls like they were rosary beads. What a thoughtful surprise. Her foyer reeked of Chanel No. 5 and fresh Windex. I noted the vacuum lines in the carpet, military straight, the way only Marla's obsessive-compulsive cleaning service did them. My sister-in-law's Cadillac wasn't in the driveway, but the faint imprint of its divorce license plate lingered in the mud. "We need to talk about Dorothy's migraines," I said, watching Helen's knuckles whiten around the flower vase. Last month's alibi. The same week Helen had accidentally forwarded me a screenshot of Dorothy's supposed girl's trip to Sedona, complete with timestamped texts and a blurry cactus photo I now realized matched her desktop wallpaper. Helen tutade, leading me into the sunroom where she'd hosted our rehearsal dinner. "You work too hard, darling. Imagination runs wild when you're lonely." Her gaze flicked to the grandfather clock, same model as ours, but with a keyhole gleaming faintly green. Copper oxidation, from a key dipped in bleach. I waited until she'd poured lemonade, always in her late husband's monogrammed tumblers, a shrine to the man who'd mysteriously drowned during their Bahamas vacation, before sliding over the decanter stopper. "Yours, I believe." The glass clicked against the wrought iron table. "Dorothy mentioned you'd been fragile lately." Her smile could have cut diamonds. "We Meyer women endure, but even steel bends under. Under 3 million in offshore transfers? I sipped the lemonade. Bitter. Laced with Xanax? She'd tried that move at my mother's funeral. Funny thing, the stopper's glue residue tested positive for cyanoacrylate. Same brand you bought, I lied smoothly, at Home Depot last Tuesday. Security cameras are magic, Helen. Her left eye twitched. Behind her, through the bay window, a shadow moved in the detached garage. Marla's distinctive hunch, that shrimp posture from years of Pilates gone wrong, visible between the slats. You're unwell, Helen whispered, all saccharine concern. She reached for my hand. I let her. Cold fingers. No wedding ring. Let me call Dr. Phillips. I stood, towering over her queen in chair. The same dentist who prescribed Dorothy's emergency root canal during our anniversary? Tell me, does he take payment in cash or Caribbean timeshares? The drive home felt like moving through syrup. I pulled over twice, once to vomit lemonade into a storm drain, again to check my trunk for tracking devices. That's when the mail truck passed, its bumper sticker screaming, "Proud Union Member, Local 304. Same local our neighborhood's regular carrier belonged to. Except today's driver wore mirrored aviators and a too-tight uniform. Helen's mail sat in my glove compartment. Turns out certified letters peel open nicely with a steam iron. Between Marla's hair salon receipts and charity galas for the Meyer Family Foundation, I found the gold, monthly transfers from Helen's account to Dorothy's, disguised as consulting fees, $12,500 every fourth Friday. The exact amount our home insurance paid out after the lightning strike that fried Dorothy's laptop and the security camera feeds. My burner phone buzzed with a voice memo alert. I'd hidden the recorder in Helen's sunroom umbrella stand that morning. Through static, Marla's nasal whine. He's digging. Shut him down before Mom has to. A car honked. I looked up to see Dorothy's Lexus idling beside me, her tinted window rolling down. Stock much? She smirked, waving a Ziploc bag of my gym clothes. Forgot these at Mom's. Sweatpants still smell like desperation. I grinned, sharp and feral. Keep 'em. They'll pair nicely with Richard's cologne on your next business trip. Watched her composure crack like thin ice. Oh, and tell Marla her foundation's 501c3 paperwork is about to become front-page news. Her tires screeched. I waited until she'd rounded the corner to check the trunk again. Beneath the spare tire, undisturbed, sat the real prize, Helen's garbage from last Thursday. Coffee grounds couldn't mask the shredded bank statements, and peroxide doesn't remove bloodstains from cotton. The thumb drive taped inside her empty Metamucil jar? That was just a bonus. Dorothy's gaslighting came wrapped in nostalgia, her specialty. She cornered me in our laundry room, holding up a pair of my boxers like a white flag. You forgot these at Mom's again, she sighed, the same maternal disappointment she perfected during our IVF failures. First the gym clothes, now this? Maybe we should get you that GPS tracker for seniors. I leaned against the dryer, letting its vibrations mask my pulse. Her weaponized competence would have been impressive if I hadn't found the Tide Pods she'd been dissolving in my protein shakes. You're right, I mumbled, scratching my neck where she'd once traced love notes. Work stress. The Kenmore project? A lie she'd appreciate, that client's mansion had burned down last winter. Electrical fire. Just like our security system. She stepped closer, dousing me in the Chanel mimosa she only wore when lying. It's not your fault. Her thumb brushed my wedding band, still loose from the 22 pounds I'd dropped since Belisegate. After Dad died, Mom says I. A masterstroke. Invoking her father's suicide during our engagement, the pills washed down with Macallan 18. Same bottle I'd caught Richard swigging. I let my shoulders slump. Maybe Dr. Phillips could. Prescribe something? She brightened, pulling a Xanax from her bra like a magic trick. Mom's idea. The pill tasted like chalk and complicity. I dry swallowed it, knowing full well she'd check under my tongue. Watched her relax as I fumbled my keys onto the counter. Gonna lie down, I slurred, shuffling toward the bedroom. Her laughter followed me, crisp, relieved. The sound of a chess player who thinks she's captured the king. The nap lasted precisely 14 minutes. Long enough for Dorothy to call Marla. He's practically catatonic, and slip out to her bar class. I emerged to find my keyring lighter by one. The bronze Medico she'd lost last month, now replaced with a flawless pewter duplicate from my pocket. Her gym bag reeked of eucalyptus and deceit. Beneath the rolled yoga mat, still creased from when I'd gift-wrapped it, I found the burner phone duct taped to an expired CPR certification card. My hands didn't shake this time. The phone lit up with a single notification. Marla, 12:47 p.m. Did you dose him? 3 missed calls. All from a contact named M with the eggplant emoji. I scrolled past dick pics. Richard should have been embarrassed to send at 47 until I found the gold. A voicemail timestamped the night of Helen's lemonade ambush. Marla's voice, tinny through gym speakers. Mom says liquidate the safe deposit box. Your husband's been sniffing around the garage door groaned. I reassembled the bag with the precision of a bomb tech, adding my own flourish. A micro tracker inside the phone's battery compartment, its frequency matching the AirTag I'd sewn into Richard's golf shoes. Dorothy found me asleep at the kitchen island, drooling on property tax documents. She kissed my hair, a practice gesture from her hospice volunteer days. Per baby, she cooed, not noticing the lemon zest under my nails from reconstructing her car key fob. When her Lexus purred out of the driveway, I spat the Xanax into the sink. Checked the tracker app. 2 blinking dots converged at the storage facility where we'd kept her father's suicide note collection. I toasted them with Macallan 18, then poured the rest down the garbage disposal. The real prize came at 2:17 a.m., Dorothy's burner buzzing with a new voicemail. Marla, drunk and hissing. Tell Mom her grieving widow act won't cover the fucking body if he croaks before the insurance vests. I saved it to the cloud, labeled track 04, family values. The next morning, I accidentally left the burner in Dorothy's Pilates bag, with its microphone remotely activated. Let them think they're whispering. I've become very good at listening. The breakdown required method acting. I started with tremors, not the cartoonish shakes Dorothy expected, but the precise vibration of a jackhammer on low setting. Let her find me at 3 a.m. accidentally shredding her Lululemon leggings, mumbling about asbestos fibers. When she grabbed my wrists, I made sure she felt the cold sweat I'd engineered by jogging in a trash bag under my work clothes. Baby, she crooned, the same voice she used on feral cats, let's get you to bed. I thrashed just enough to knock over the framed ultrasound from our last miscarriage. Glass shattered. She didn't flinch. The suicide note took 7 drafts. Final version used Helen's monogrammed stationery, lifted during her fainting spell at our last family barbecue. My handwriting wavered between printer font neatness and drunken spider crawl, the perfect pastiche of a man unraveling. Key phrase, maybe the lake will be warmer than our bed. Dorothy's bookmark fell out when she unfolded it, a dried gardenia from Richard's landscaping company. I vanished on trash day, left the note pinned under her Tiffany anniversary clock with a roofing nail through its gears. Took nothing but my dead father's tool belt and the security footage of Marla keying my truck. Their celebration unfolded like community theater. Dorothy chose our patio poetic, she'd think, uncorking a 97 Opus one I'd been cellaring for our 15th anniversary. Marla arrived bearing a sheet cake iced with R.I.P. dumbass and lemon curd. From my perch in the treehouse I'd built for the kids we never had, I watched through binoculars retooled with a smartphone mount. Recorded every pixel. To Mom's cut, Marla slurred, red wine dripping down her chin like cheap lipstick. May it cover that fugly pool house once the insurance clears. Dorothy's laugh hit a decibel that startled owls. To Douglas, may the fish feast well on his. The sliding door interrupted. Richard emerged shirtless, cradling the decanter like a newborn. Ladies, the good stuff. Here's what they missed. 1. The Opus 1 cork I'd resealed with roof tar, detectable only by gas chromatography. 2. The suicide note paper's watermark, visible under black light as Meyer Family Foundation letterhead. 3. The treehouse floorboard where I left a voice-activated recorder taped to a juice box. Marla's phone buzzed. She squinted at the screen. Mom says the death cert gets filed Tuesday. Cremation's cheaper, but... Dorothy kicked off her heels. Burn him. Like he burned through our savings. I waited until Richard started groping her against my Weber grill, charcoal still piled for our canceled 4th of July, before descending. Left 3 artifacts in the treehouse. My wedding ring fused to a charred hot dog skewer. A screenshot of Helen's Cayman Islands wire transfers. The CPR certification card from Dorothy's gym bag. The burner phone's last notification buzzed as I crossed state lines. Marla, 2:19 a.m. Pack you are bikini. Belize here we come smiling face with horns eggplant. I replied from Douglas's iCloud account. See you soon. Then bricked the device with a roofing nail through its SIM slot. In the rearview mirror, my reflection had already changed. Beard scruff dyed asphalt black. Hazel contacts bought from a Vegas Elvis impersonator. The radio played Helen's favorite Sinatra cover. I smiled until my face ached. Let them cash the checks. I'd be the one signing them soon enough. Texas smelled like burnt coffee and second chances. I rented a Tinkin trailer off I-35 where the roaches were polite enough to scatter when I turned the lights on. First week, I ate gas station taquitos and answered to Donovan, a name I stole from the janitor who'd mopped up my puke after Helen's Xanax-laced Thanksgiving turkey. The investor found me reshingling a storm widow's roof in 114 degrees heat. Margarita Hernandez, 78, spine like rebar, eyes that spotted bullshit at 50 paces. She'd been my first client back in Chicago, the one whose Victorian I'd saved from foreclosure by exposing black mold in the walls. Now she leaned on her pearl-handled cane, squinting up at my blistered neck. Mierda, boy. You build like God's watching and fuck like he isn't. Her checkbook came out faster than Dorothy's divorce papers. We incorporated over Fritos and Lone Star at her kitchen table. Hernandez and Donovan Contracting, LLC. My signature looked foreign. I practiced it for weeks using Richard's leaked signatures as tracing paper. For 2 years, we built McMansions, strip malls, a Baptist megachurch where I embedded rusted nails in the confession booth walls. My hands stopped checking phantom wedding rings and started mapping supply chain vulnerabilities instead. Dorothy's promotion hit the Chicago Tribune's business section on the same day we broke ground on Austin's new tech campus. The photo showed her grinning like a used car salesman, Richard's hand possessively on her shoulder. But it was the reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows that made my coffee curdle. Helen's silhouette, blurred but unmistakable, clutching a Louis Vuitton binder labeled Merger Acquisitions. Margarita caught me staring. She snatched the paper, spat in Spanish, then pointed her cane at Helen's ghostly image. La Bruja comes with property tax hikes and bad plumbing. Her fingernail tapped the window reflection's neckline. That pendant, you recognize? I zoomed in. The triple strand pearls, same ones Helen wore to our wedding. Same one she'd lost during Richard's wife's suspicious boating accident. But now, centered between the cultured beads, hung a new charm, a platinum M entwined with a $sign. Meyer Foundation fundraiser next month, Margarita read from the society pages. Keynote speaker, CFO Richard Bauer. She paused. Your ex's boy toys got a Nevada LLC funneling donations through Dorothy's corporate partnerships division. I finished, tasting bile. The puzzle pieces clicked. Helen laundering charity funds through Richard's shell companies, Dorothy rubber stamping the transfers. All while my life insurance policy ticked toward its 2-year contestability expiration. That night, I rewired the trailer's security system with military-grade sensors. Between the motion cams and snake traps, I found myself staring at blueprints for Meyer Holdings headquarters. Their HVAC schematics were laughably vulnerable. One well-placed humidity sensor in the server room could trigger a full system flood. Margarita brought whiskey. We drank to corporate espionage and bad life choices. You gonna burn them? She asked, eyeing my red-line blueprints. Worse. I tapped the fire suppression system's weak point. I'm going to make them renovate. She cackled, pouring another round. Attaboy. Now fix my porch before I die and leave you to the coyotes. The local news ran Dorothy's segment again that night. HD close-up revealed cracks in her facade, overbleached teeth, a tremor in her champagne flute. Behind her, barely in frame, Helen adjusted her pendant while mouthing words to someone off camera. Lip readers would have caught liquidate. I saw mercies for suckers. I framed the screenshot next to my workbench. Not for motivation, for calibration. Every nail I drove, every contract I bid, carried the exact weight of their laughter that rain-soaked night. When the tech campus opened, I wore a hard hat instead of handcuffs. Dorothy's face flashed on a job site TV, Corporate Innovator of the Year, as I signed the paperwork to acquire 12% of Meyer Holdings through 7 offshore proxies. The champagne margarita pop tasted like roofing tar and justice. To phase 2, I toasted, watching Dorothy's acceptance speech crumble into buffering pixels. Somewhere north, a decanter's stopper finally gave out. The hostile takeover began with a concrete mixer. Not the metaphorical kind. An actual fucking cement truck parked outside Meyer Holdings' flagship charity hospital. My crew poured the foundation for their new pediatric wing while I sipped sweet tea in the site trailer, watching stock tickers reflected in Margarita's rhinestone cat-eye glasses. They're using low-slag Portland cement, she noted, smearing queso on an NDA. Cost them $2.8 million extra. Laundering fee. I zoomed in on the delivery manifests. Worse. Grade M70 concrete requires quarterly inspections by Bauer Construction's subsidiary. She cackled. Richard's getting kickbacks on his own embezzlement? Even the cartels aren't this greedy. By noon, I owned 27% of Meyer through shell companies named after Dorothy's dead houseplants. The board's panic leaked via an encrypted channel I'd installed in their espresso machine during the hospital's break room renovation. Richard's voice, tinny with Valium. It's just some green energy fund. Probably tree huggers who. A board member cut him off. They're demanding forensic accounting of the Belize shipments. I paused the wiretap. Belize shipments. Crates labeled medical supplies that left Miami docks every third Thursday. The same docks where Margarita's cousin ran a salvage operation specializing in lost containers. Dorothy's corporate headshot smiled from my triple monitor setup. HR's password had been D0T loves Richard 69. Behind her, barely visible through the office blinds, hung a framed photo of Helen cutting the ribbon at Meyer Foundation's gala. Zooming in revealed the necklace pendant's engraving. Follow the money in Arial font. The breakthrough came via an IRS audit notice. Not mine, the fake one I'd mailed to Marla's Boca Raton timeshare. Her panic call to Helen's burner phone, still synced to my cloud, exposed the real game. Mom says liquidate the Cayman assets into the hospice charity. Marla hissed. Richard's forensic accountant is sniffing the... A fax machine screeched. Dorothy's corporate Amex statement scrolled out, covered in my red sharpest circles. $48,000 at a Zurich watchmaker. $12,500 monthly donations to the Meyer Family Legacy Fund. And one delicious anomaly. A $1.75 charge at a San Antonio truck stop 3 days after my suicide. The security footage showed Helen buying Dramamine and a Slim Jim. In the parking lot, her driver unloaded crates marked Antiquities, Fragile, into a U-Haul. Same U-Haul later photographed at Richard's lakeside fishing cabin. Margarita appeared with tamales and a blowtorch. Time to get hostile, Mijo. I wore a hard hat to the shareholder meeting. Not a disguise, armor. The boardroom stank of panic and overpriced air freshener. Richard's PowerPoint slide froze on strategic philanthropic partnerships as I entered, trailing concrete dust. Dorothy's gasp tasted better than revenge. Why, you're alive. I adjusted the webcam. Disappointing, I know. But don't worry, you're still getting fired. The Zoom chat exploded. Helen's face pixelated as I shared screen, construction permits, cement invoices, Marla's Venmo history showing $5,000 weekly payments from Meyer Charity 88. A board member stood, jowls trembling. This is slander. This, I corrected, pulling up Richard's offshore LLCs, is tax fraud. And this, the San Antonio truck stop receipt, is interstate trafficking of stolen Mayan artifacts. Dorothy lunged, her Louboutin cracking the projector screen. You ruin us. You ruin yourself. I caught her wrist, smelling Richard's cologne. Sweetheart, I'm not in the pictures. Margarita's paralegals served papers as the live stream hit 50K views. Richard vomited in a $400 trash can. Helen's pearls snapped, scattering like albino cockroaches. In the parking lot, I keyed Dorothy's Lexus with a concrete nail. Let the cameras see. The real art was the Form 10K I filed next morning. Meyer Holdings' new majority shareholder proposing immediate liquidation of all non-essential assets. Starting with Richard's department. Dorothy's email arrived at 3:17 a.m. We need to talk. I replied with a screenshot of her burner phone's last message to Marla. Burn it all. Then bought another 12% through a Bhutanese holding company. The cement mixer outside her McMansion at dawn wasn't hostile. Just a reminder. Foundations crack under pressure. The foreclosure notice made excellent toilet paper. I'd know. I'd hung it in Helen's master bathroom, where her gold-plated bidet used to be. The house smelled of mildew and schadenfreude. Every water stain on the ceiling marking a month they'd thought me dead. Marla found me accidentally trimming her side of the hedge, or what remained after I'd doused it with glyphosate. Her divorce had carved 20 pounds and 3 shades of blonde from her, leaving something between a praying mantis and a Real Housewife audition tape. Donovan, right? She leaned over the fence, strategically dropping her gardening gloves. You look familiar. I let the pause linger, chainsaw idling. My beard itched under the keratin grafts, eyes stinging from hazel contacts. Ma'am. I tipped my caterpillar cap, same brand her pool boy wore. She trailed me into Helen's kitchen, now stripped to the subfloor. This place is cursed, you know. Her stiletto caught on warped linoleum. Last owner? Total psycho. Drowned himself. I knelt to inspect the floorboards, hiding my grin. The psycho had been Helen's third husband, a fact Marla omitted along with the arsenic levels in his bloodstream. He leave anything valuable? Just bad juju. Her laugh echoed off empty walls. But between us, she produced a key from her push-up bra. Mom's panic room. Code's dad's death date. The walls bled when I opened it. Not literally, though the crimson ledger books stacked beside Helen's emergency bourbon made a strong case. Marla hovered, vodka tonic sloshing as I flipped through offshore account numbers and blackmail timelines. She kept records like a fucking nun, Marla slurred, fingering a stack of love letters from Richard. Real puppet master, that one. My penlight froze on a page titled Marla, Boca Raton Incident. Your mom seems thorough. Thorough. She snatched the bottle, gulping. I had to bleach my Tesla twice after a hiccup. Look, you seem decent. Want to see something funny? Her phone glowed with security footage. Helen in this very room, shredding documents while sobbing. Date stamp. 3 days post-suicide. Watch this part. Marla rewound. Helen paused mid-cry to answer a call, voice suddenly crisp. No, the insurance won't pay until they find the... Oh, for Christ's sake. Dorothy, act more bereaved. The laugh burst out before I could stop it, rusty and raw. Marla misread the spark, her claw on my thigh. Know what's funnier? There's $200,000 cash behind that panel. She pointed. Mom's rainy day fund. I pried the wall open as she nuzzled my neck. Bundles of Benjamins, vacuum sealed with a post-it, for Marla's rehab. Let's blow it on coke and hookers, she breathed. I pocketed 2 stacks, tucking the rest back with a GPS tracker. Rain's coming. She pouted. Your loss. But hey, her nail traced my jaw. If you find any jewelry. Mom's pearls had a tracker. You know, in case Dad's ghost came back. The Rolex on my wrist, lifted from Richard's gym locker, buzzed with a security alert. Dorothy's Lexus idled outside. Marla followed my gaze. Ugh. Sister Deer's checking her stakeout cams. She wobbled toward the door. They're in the AC vents. Mom's idea. I waited until her taillights vanished to open the real prize. The floor safe under the panic room's drain. Combination, DOROTHY. The contents justified every hellish mile between here and Texas. Helen's notarized will. Richard's sealed indictment. And Dorothy's positive pregnancy test from our last IVF round. Expiration date circled in red. Outside, thunder cracked. I toasted Helen's ghost with her own bourbon. The cameras watched. Let them. The town hall reeked of burnt coffee and desperation. I'd chosen a seat beneath the fire exit sign. Old habits, and counted the exits as Helen took the podium. Her charity pitch used saccharine venom, every PowerPoint slide featuring Marla's kids photoshopped into third-world orphanages. With Meyer Legacy Fund, she purred, tapping a graph showing 92% administrative efficiency, your donations build futures. The laser pointer trembled slightly. I'd swapped her lithium batteries with dying AAs from Dorothy's vibrator. Q&A time. I raised a hand, leaning into my Donovan drawl. Ma'am, How's your charity handling the whatchamacallit due diligence? Her smile could frost hell. Young man, we're audited annually by Bauer Financial Services, I finished, scratching my neck where her Xanax had once left hives. Heard they're under investigation for. I paused, letting the room lean in. Creative accounting. The chamber erupted. Helen's pearls clicked like abacus beads. Later, by the stale cookies, she materialized smelling of Chanel and Chardonnay. Mr. Donovan. Her handshake left paper cuts. Our charity could use a man of your skepticism. I let my gaze wander to her Louis Vuitton binder, same one from Dorothy's promotion photo. Skepticism's expensive, ma'am. Her laugh tasted like mothballs. So are waterfront properties in Belize. The tour of her office was theater. She showed me the fake wall of donor plaques while subtly steering me from the real prize, a Sub-Zero fridge humming in the corner. The same model that had once hid my anniversary gifts. Your refrigeration needs an upgrade, I quipped, thumping the stainless steel. Heard these models fail around year 7. Her blink lasted a millisecond too long. The fridge was 7 years old next Thursday. While she took an urgent call from Richard, I palmed the magnetic tracker from my belt buckle, planted it behind a Martha Stewart living frame containing Marla's rehab graduation photo. The bug in my donated Rolex, a replica, naturally, began transmitting before I'd finished admiring her Picasso knockoff. Before you go. Helen produced a leather-bound ledger from her desk. Our platinum-tier investors receive unique benefits. The page she flipped to showed wire transfers to MFT Holdings with a memo line, Marla fee consultation. I whistled. Your daughter's pricey. Family, Helen sighed, snapping the ledger shut, is a tax write-off with proper documentation. At the elevator, I accidentally spilled coffee on her assistant, a distraction to pocket the real treasure. Helen's encrypted USB drive masquerading as a Tiffany keychain. The security footage would show Donovan helpfully blotting the stain with his sleeve, not swapping her keyring with an identical drive preloaded with ransomware. That night, the tracker led me to Helen's midnight meeting at the yacht club. From the parking lot, I watched through thermal goggles as she handed the ledger to a man whose neck tattoos matched the Belize dockmaster from Margarita's files. My burner buzzed with Margarita's update. Fridge cam shows 12:47 a.m. delivery. Contents, spicy. I texted back the coordinates from Helen's Mercedes GPS, send the coyotes. The real victory came at 3:33 a.m., the bug in Marla's photo frame picking up Helen's panicked whisper. The new investor knows about the fees. Liquidate everything. I toasted her paranoia with gas station tequila, watching Meyer Holdings stock plummet pre-market. Somewhere offshore, a concrete mixer churned toward destiny. Dorothy's breakdown arrived gift-wrapped in Meyer Foundation letterhead. She cornered Donovan at the charity's donation drop-off, a stroke of irony I'd engineered by having Margarita's crew accidentally redirect her luxury handbag drive to a women's shelter. You're the only one who gets it, she slurred, vodka tonic sloshing from a thermos labeled Matcha Wellness. Her Louboutins were scuffed, Richard's monogrammed handkerchief clutched like a security blanket. My husband, he died thinking I let the silence curdle. The donation bin between us reeked of her discarded Chanel, same bag she'd once hidden emergency cash in. Guilt's a shitty perfume, Dorothy. She flinched at her name. I'd never used it before. The real art was the listening. Nodding as she sobbed about untimely death and unfinished business, all while my phone recorded every confession. When she mentioned the life insurance investigator's calls, I slid a napkin across the table, Helen's monogram stationery repurposed with lemon juice ink. Write his name, I urged, the concerned stranger. Part of the grief process. She scrawled Douglas in jagged letters. The citrus residue would darken by morning, revealing the message I'd pre-written with UV ink. I know about Richard. Her burner phone buzzed on cue. Anonymous text with a screenshot of Richard's Venmo to Marla Bay, $5,000 labeled consultation fee. I'd sent it from Helen's hacked iPad. Dorothy's mascara bled Rorschach patterns. It's not, we weren't. Karma's a contractor, I said, channeling Margarita's rasp. Always collects with interest. She fled, leaving the thermos. Inside, gold flakes swirling with gray goose and something bitter. I dumped it into the donation bin, watching the vodka eat through a Prada clutch's lining. The security feed showed her later that night, rummaging through discarded bags. When she found the napkin now screaming its invisible accusation, her scream cracked the audio. Marla's call came through my bugged Mercedes. She knows about Belize. Mom says terminate Phase 3. I revved the engine, loud enough for the mic to catch. Let them think I was fleeing. The Phase 3 files sat in plain sight at my office, blueprints for Helen's charity hospital, its foundation laced with the same substandard rebar Richard had used in the pediatric wing. The blackmail notes paper matched the donation center's receipts. Let forensics tie it to Dorothy's nervous sweat. At 3 a.m., I watched Dorothy burn Richard's love letters in her marble fire pit. The flames reflected in my binoculars as I texted her burner. Ask Helen about the 2017 audit. She'll know. Her reply came swift and savage. Who is this? I attached the photo of her pregnancy test from the panic room safe. The expiration date circled in red, 3 months after my suicide. The porcelain shatter was audible from 2 blocks away. Margarita called as Dorothy's Lexus peeled toward Helen's. She's speeding. Want to bet on the crash? I sipped bourbon from the decanter's stopper. I never gamble. Liar, she cackled. You bet your whole life on this. The police scanner crackled with a 10 to 50 single-vehicle collision near the Meyer estate. I turned up the volume. Somewhere, a concrete truck shifted gears. Part 10. Marla's meltdown unfolded in the Meyer Foundation lobby like a soap opera directed by Satan. She stormed in clutching a Gucci binder stuffed with papers I'd conveniently left in her Tesla's glove box. Fake invoices for Dorothy's consulting fees at a Cancun swingers resort. Her scream hit operatic heights. Your bleeding mom's accounts dry to fund your cabana boy. Dorothy, mid-press interview about ethical philanthropy, dropped her latte. The security feed caught the exact moment her left eye started twitching. A tick I'd conditioned by texting her burner phone random air horn noises at 3 a.m. Helen arrived wielding an umbrella like a scepter. Girls, this is not the venue, she hissed, her pearls catching on Marla's extensions. The real showstopper? Marla's proof, a spreadsheet printed on Helen's personal stationery, its watermark altered to read Meyer family fraud. I'd swapped the paper during her last charity luncheon, right after lacing her Chardonnay with laxatives. While security wrestled the sisters apart, I remotely triggered the boardroom's smart projector. Fake audit reports, meticulously backdated using Richard's own signature font, flashed across the wall. Highlight: a $2 million transfer to Belize Bliss LLC, signed with Dorothy's fingerprint, lifted from her discarded wine glass. Chaos metastasized. Reporters live tweeted. The board emergency voted. Richard, mid-golf swing, got suspended via text. His custom hole-in-one alert now a death knell. I watched from Helen's bugged Bentley, crunching Doritos as Richard cornered Dorothy in the parking garage. His Rolex, still synced to my tracker, transmitted every snarl. Your psycho family set me up. I'll bury you with the Cayman docks. Dorothy's reply? A muffled thud and the clatter of her emergency panic button, the one I'd rerouted to my burner. Key clues. 1. Gucci binder, lined with RFID blocking fabric, except for page 47, where a microdot revealed Helen's real signature. 2. Dorothy's latte, spilled creamer formed the Meyer Foundation logo, same shape as the concrete cracks in their pediatric wing. 3. Richard's text, time-stamped 4:16 p.m., exactly when Belize banks close for maintenance. Twist. The fake audit's corporate ID numbers were valid, stolen from Helen's panic room ledger. Even her denials would confirm their authenticity. As Dorothy sped off, I texted Marla a screenshot of Richard's Cayman accounts, conveniently omitting that she was the Boca Raton consultant, receiving 15%. Her panic call to Helen's lawyer? Already queued as track 17. Family Values, Remix. Richard's suspension notice fluttered into the gutter. I fished it out, smirking at the typo, indefinite sabbatical, and tucked it into my wallet. Perfect stationery for his termination letter. The reckoning happened in Helen's panic room, now my walk-in humidor. I'd redecorated with the ledger pages wallpapering the walls and her pearls strung into a makeshift noose above the biometric lock. She entered clutching a Louis Vuitton folder, mistaking my cigar smoke for a malfunctioning HVAC system. Mr. Donovan, really, she scoffed. stepping over the shattered remains of her bourbon collection. Squatters' rights don't apply to custom builds. I swiveled in her dead husband's ergonomic chair, letting the track lighting catch my unscarred profile. Neither does probable cause, Helen. But here we are. Her gas tasted like victory. The pearls clacked as she lunged for the silent alarm, disabled using the code she'd set to Marla's birthday. Douglas? But you're fashionably late? I tapped the security monitors. Live feeds showed Dorothy shredding documents in her office and Richard sobbing into a golf club. Let's discuss your Belize problem. She recovered faster than Wall Street after a scandal. Whatever you think you've. The recording played through the panic room's surround sound. Helen's voice coaching Marla through falsifying death certificates, layered with the whiskey decanter's telltale warble. I'd spliced in security footage of their midnight ledger edits, zooming in on the Rolex-clad hand pouring cyanide-laced Macallan. That's not admissible in court? I grinned. Who mentioned courts? Her checkbook emerged, Fontainebleau pink, same shade as Dorothy's miscarriage announcement cards. Name your price. I lit a cigar with the foreclosure notice. Already did. The Meyer Foundation's board votes on dissolution in, checked Richard's stolen Patek. 20 minutes. Her composure shattered like the decanter she'd hurled years prior. You'll destroy Dorothy. No. I stood, revealing the floor's safe gaping maw behind me. You did that when you taught her to forge my signature on the arsenic prescriptions. The kicker? The panic room's climate control had been slowly baking her hidden microfilm into brittle confetti. As she lunged for the safe, her favorite Chanel sleeve caught fire from my cigar's ember. Burn faster than offshore accounts, I noted, tossing her the fire extinguisher, filled with glitter and indelible ink. Her scream summoned security. I exited through the tunnel she'd built for earthquake safety, really a smuggling route to Richard's yacht, as the board's dissolution vote flashed across my phone. The final, I came from Margarita's hacked account. Helen's cash offer? Transferred to a Belize orphanage. Let her explain that audit. The confrontation unfolded in Helen's panic room, now stripped bare except for the stench of bourbon and betrayal. Dorothy kicked open the door, still rigged with the fingerprint scanner I'd reprogrammed to play Another One Bites the Dust on entry. Helen sat amid shredded ledger pages, her pearls coiled like a noose on the empty safe. You turned me into your fucking ATM, Dorothy hissed, throwing a Ziploc bag of Richard's hair extensions onto the concrete floor. They landed beside a photo of her miscarriage, hospital bill, backdated by Helen's dentist-turned-forger. Helen didn't look up from her scotch. You were eager to be turned. She flicked a pill bottle labeled folic acid, same one she'd used to swap Dorothy's fertility meds with placebos. All those tragic failed pregnancies, cheaper than a grandkid. Dorothy's scream was cut short by Marla's .38 special, the same nickel-plated revolver Helen had lost during her third husband's yacht accident. Marla's rehab bracelet jangled as she racked the hammer. Where's the real will, Mom? The one that doesn't leave me $1 and a lifetime supply of disappointment? Helen smirked, swirling her drink. You think I'd trust the girl who botched her own arson? She nodded to the fireproof safe behind Dorothy, its combination dial smeared with lipstick I'd laced with UV dye. Check the pearls. Dorothy snapped Helen's necklace. Cultured beads scattered, revealing a hollowed pearl containing a micro USB. Marla lunged, but Dorothy stomped her stiletto through it, crushing years of offshore transfers and Marla's forged rehab certificates. You promised me the estate. Marla shrieked, pressing the gun to Helen's temple. All I had to do was keep her distracted with pills and dick pics. Helen's laugh curdled. And you failed. Douglas outplayed you all. Dorothy froze. Douglas knew. From my surveillance fan, I adjusted the feed, zooming in on Marla's trigger finger. The gun's serial number matched the one used in Richard's wife's suicide. A fact the cops would discover once Dorothy's hidden mic uploaded the audio. Marla's hand trembled. You said he was dead. He is, Helen spat. To you. Dorothy lunged for the gun. It discharged, shattering the decanter's stopper I'd glued to the wall as a trophy. Superglue fumes mixed with cordite as the women grappled, Marla's sleeve catching fire from a fallen cigar. I leaned back, snacking on Margarita's tamales, as the panic room sprinklers doused them all. The water reactivated the UV dye on the safe, now glowing with the words last will and testament in my handwriting. Dorothy pried it open. Empty. Check the drain, I muttered into Dorothy's earpiece, left in her bar class bag weeks prior. Her manicured fingers found the false pipe. Inside, Helen's real will, leaving everything to a Belize orphanage, and a sticky note with my burner number. Marla's wail pierced the feed. You gave it to him? Helen's silence was answer enough. Dorothy collapsed laughing, the fire extinguisher foam around her resembling cheap wedding veils. We're ghosts, she whispered. And he's the fucking exorcist. I shut the laptop. Let them marinate. The gun's serial number would ping Interpol in 3, 2, 1. Somewhere, a concrete mixer growled to life. The silent alarm wasn't in the panic room. It was in Helen's pacemaker. I'd paid her cardiologist handsomely during the hospital's electrical upgrade. One encrypted text turned her defibrillator into a 200 decibel siren. Marla dropped the gun, clapping hands over ears as red and blue light strobed through bulletproof windows. Helen collapsed mid-sneer, her left eye freezing in a wink while the right rolled back like a slot machine stuck on bankruptcy. Dorothy lunged past the spreading pool of Chanel No. 5 and urine, clawing at my surveillance camera. You pathetic little architect? I finished over the PA system, repurposing Helen's intercom. Check the foundation, sweetheart. Marla's escape attempt was theater. She bolted through the tunnel to Richard's yacht, the one I'd filled with cement during last week's marina renovation. Cops found her ankle-deep in quickset concrete, still screaming about diplomatic immunity. I met Dorothy at the estate's gates, her manicure cracked from trying to pry open the panic room's biometric lock. She spun, wild-eyed, clutching Helen's pearls like a rosary. Was any of it real? Though the miscarriages? The Xanax-laced lemonade? I tossed her the decanter stopper. Test it yourself. Her slap lacked conviction. You made me your villain. No, I nodded to the ambulance loading Helen's twitching form. You auditioned. The cops took their time with her. I savored the details, Dorothy's innocent act crumbling when they found Richard's thumb drive in her Louis Vuitton, planted during her bar class, the way her breath hitched as they recited Miranda rights over Helen's fading moans. But the kill shot came as they cuffed her. She leaned close, lipstick smeared like a bloodstain, and whispered, You kept the life insurance policy active. Just like Mom would've. The truth detonated quietly. She was right. I'd never canceled it. Let the premiums auto-draft, fantasizing about double indemnity payouts. Dorothy's smirk as they shoved her into the cruiser said everything. I stood in the estate's driveway until dawn, crunching through broken pearls underfoot. Margarita found me staring at the panic room's camera feed. Helen's EKG flatlining to the rhythm of my old wedding song. Vengeance is a shitty roommate, she grunted, handing me a crowbar. Now let's gut this place before the feds freeze everything. We found Helen's final joke in the safe's false bottom. A life insurance policy on me, dated 3 days after my suicide. Beneficiary, the Meyer Family Foundation. Premium paid in full. I burned it with the last of Richard's love letters. The ashes spelled out "C'est la vie" in the concrete dust. Dorothy's whisper looped in my skull as the wrecking ball swung. Maybe she wasn't wrong. But the house had to fall. The shareholder meeting smelled like overpriced cologne and impending bloodsport. I entered through the service elevator, poetic, given how they treated me as the help, and took the podium as the clock struck 9 a.m. My reflection in the smoked glass walls showed a stranger, beard-trimmed corporate sharp, tailored suit hiding the concrete burns on my knuckles. Dorothy's choked gasp when I removed the prosthetic nose was better than any opening statement. Richard's CFO pin clattered to the floor as I cued the presentation, not slides, but surveillance feeds. Exhibit A, I rasped, nodding to Helen's ICU footage. The heart monitor beeped Morse code for guilty. Your former chairwoman's little side hustle. The board squirmed as IRS forms materialized. Helen's charity donations funneled into Richard's offshore accounts. Highlight, $750,000 marked pediatric wing that actually bought his Miami Coke den. The twist? Every document bore Dorothy's encrypted signature, lifted from her vibrator's Bluetooth settings. Richard's protest died when federal agents materialized. 3 burly suits who'd been maintenance staff serving spiked coffee. His cuffs matched the ones I'd worn installing their boardroom chandelier. You can't, Dorothy lunged, her Louboutin cracking the projector screen. Security pinned her as she spat. I'll expose everything. The insurance fraud, I muted her mic, already did. Nodded to the exit where Margarita waved Helen's ledger, now a NYT bestseller. Check today's op-eds. The room erupted. I let them howl, savoring the chaos until Dorothy's whisper cut through. You kept Mom's pearls. My hand flew to the lump under my tie, Helen's tracker pendant, its GPS still pinging her nursing home. Dorothy's smirk said she knew why. Final motion. I slammed the panic room's biometric lock on the table. Dissolution of all Meyer assets effective. Checked Richard's stolen Rolex. Now. The vote passed 17-1. The lone dissent came from Dorothy's empty seat. She collapsed, vomiting what looked suspiciously like Xanax-laced lemonade. As marshals hauled Richard out, he locked eyes with me. This won't bring your dead kid back. The decanter stopper in my pocket dug into my palm. Margarita's hand on my shoulder stopped the retort. They left me standing in the ruins of 3 lives, staring at the cracked screen still looping Helen's confession. The air tasted of scorched silicon and Pyrrhic victory. Dorothy's final gift waited in my office, a framed ultrasound photo with property of Richard Bauer scrawled on the back in Helen's hand. I burned it with the last of the ledger pages. The ashes spelled nothing. Part 15. The job offer arrived in a grease-stained envelope, hand-delivered to Dorothy's studio apartment above a pawn shop. Inside, a janitorial contract for Meyer Holdings corporate offices, a keycard with her mugshot pixelated into the ID, and a single-use bleach pen to scrub Richard's initials carved into the women's restroom stall. She stormed into my rebuilt headquarters, now a glass monolith where her old office once stood, wearing the same blouse she'd been arrested in, sleeves frayed from handcuff struggles. The security feed caught her pausing at the lobby's polished floor, her reflection warped by the same marble she'd once bragged was quarried from Italian prisons. Cute, she sneered, slamming the contract on my desk. A fleck of dried spit hit the clause requiring her to clean the panic room every Friday. Think this makes you noble? You're just Mom with a dick. I leaned back, rolling Helen's pearl between my fingers, the tracker still active, its signal bouncing from a Belize landfill. The healthcare's decent. Dental covers extractions. I nodded to her yellowed incisor, cracked during Marla's jailhouse reunion. Her slap was theatrical, the spit deliberate. It missed my face, landing on the framed blueprint of their flooded pediatric wing. Go rot in a concrete coffin. I slid a second envelope across the desk. Inside, photos of her storage unit. Contents auctioned off last Tuesday, including the decanter and Richard's golf clubs. Beneath them, a highlighted ledger entry. Life insurance payout revoked, beneficiary deceased. Your choice, I said. But the dumpster behind Taco Bell isn't hiring. She crumpled the contract, then froze. The paper rustled with a hidden insert, her old prenatal vitamin prescription, reused as scratch paper. My added footnote. Side effects may include chronic shame and poverty. Dorothy's laugh cracked like fault lines. You kept the policy active, just to cancel it. No. I opened the vault behind me, revealing stacks of Belizean cash. To fund their maternity ward. She left the application on the floor, but not before tearing the emergency contact line, where I'd pre-filled Marla's inmate number. Marla's letter arrived that afternoon, reeking of commissary perfume. Testify re. Mom's Cayman hoax, she'd scrawled under a Bible verse. Price equals 10% plus new identity. I fed it to the shredder, watching Psalm 23 spiral into confetti. Let her sing to the feds for canned tuna. Dorothy's keycard activated at 3 a.m. The cameras followed her mop's sluggish arcs across the lobby, her shadow stretching like a noose at dawn. She left the bleach pen uncapped on my desk. I pocketed it. Perfect for autographing termination notices. The office hums with the kind of silence only money can buy. Engineered acoustics, triple-pane glass, a $40,000 HVAC system I designed to mimic the exact airflow of that Texas trailer. Dorothy's shredded application flutters into the cross-cut bin like corporate snow. Turns out the paper's the same stock she used for our wedding invites. Poetic, if you ignore the stench of bleach and poor life choices. My Texas crew grins from the framed job site photo. Margarita flipping off the camera mid-weld. The boys hoisting a steel beam etched with "Fuck Belize" in my handwriting. Their Christmas card sits unopened beneath it, the return address smudged with concrete dust. Loyalty leaves stains. The text buzzes through the mahogany like a trapped wasp. Marla's mugshot pops up, orange jumpsuit clashing with her spray tan, followed by a funeral notice. No flowers, per Helen's living will. Just a request to scatter her ashes in the Pediatric Wings Foundation. I pour 2 fingers of Macallan into a red Solo cup. The decanter stays locked in the safe where it belongs. Outside, Dorothy's mopping the lobby in last season's Prada. Her keycard access revoked from every floor but this one. She thinks I don't know about the thumb drive she taped under the janitorial sink. The shredder chokes on a final strip of application. The last visible word, emergency contact. Margarita's number, obviously. Because who else would Dorothy call when the Xanax wears off and the panic room nightmares start? My reflection in the window shows a man who could almost be mistaken for Happy. Beard salted with the same gypsum dust that buried Richard's yacht. Eyes that no longer check for decanter-shaped shadows. Another buzz. Helen's funeral procession rerouted due to suspicious concrete obstructions. I swipe it away, straighten the Texas photo by a 1/4 inch. The HVAC kicks on, circulating air that smells faintly of roofing tar and absolution. Dorothy's mop clatters in the elevator shaft. Let her stew. Let them all. I've got blueprints to approve. The real victory isn't in the shredder, or the text, or the way the night shift guard will accidentally lock her in the panic room tonight. It's in the HVAC vents, rigged to play Richard's arrest recording on loop whenever her keycard swipes a door. Hell of a lullaby. The scotch burns going down. I don't smile, but the concrete mixer outside does.